Ready, set, shape. The ShapeShift podcast is brought to you by Shape, the most powerful mortgage software with everything from texting, lead management, a dialer, LOS integrations, and over 5,000 other apps to help LOs take more deals from new lead to closed loan. Welcome to the Shape podcast. I'm your host, Jimi Ryan. Wow, episode 1. I remember like it was yesterday, the first episode of the Get It Done podcast that I started. And man, it was terrible. It was wretched to get out. And this one I feel is going to be like a lot easier to get started. So first off, welcome to episode 1. I'm super pumped to launch this podcast. And what we're going to go over is, first off, just an overview, what we're going to talk about on this show, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, when we're going to do it, and all the details. Who I am, why I joined Shape, who we're going to interview, who we're going to have on the show, and another podcast called Ready, Set, Shape, and why now. So first and foremost, we need a name for this podcast. And because I'm a total nerd, I put in a couple different ideas into ChatGPT about what we could name this podcast and what it is that we're looking to do. So I asked ChatGPT, hey, I'm creating a long form podcast for Shape Software. They are a CRM lead management company. What would be a good name for a podcast? And I love ChatGPT because it just gave me something excellent. So it said this: Beyond the Pipeline, the Shape Software Revolution. And then I didn't even ask for this, but it gives it to me. The description: Join us Beyond the Pipeline, the podcast dedicated to exploring cutting-edge world of CRM and lead management, hosted by industry experts and thought leaders. This podcast delves deep into strategies, insights, and innovations that are propelling Shape Software forward on its mission to become the #1 CRM platform in the world. Tune in as we recover success stories, share insider tips, and engage in thought-provoking discussions with industry pioneers, all aimed at helping businesses reshape their sales and marketing processes. Get ready to revolutionize your CRM game with Beyond the Pipeline. Okay, that's way too wordy. I don't like that at all. Like me just saying that out loud, I didn't like it. I didn't like the part where it said tune in particularly. Like, what are you doing? Are you tuning in a dial? It's a weird pet peeve that I have. Don't say tune in. Thanks for tuning in. I hate that. That's like, please don't say that. So then I said, all right, great. Now make it an alliteration. So it gave me this: Shaping Success. And then it gives me an equally as long description, which actually ended up being better. But we're looking for something like that. And I'm just going to call it for now the Shape Podcast. And what we're going to do is we're going to dive deeper into not just the Shape software product, but we're going to dive deep into who works for Shape and why it is what it is. I would argue that Shape is a great software. There's proprietary technology. There's things that it does that many other CRM systems don't, or does everything, whereas other CRM and lead management systems only do one or two different things. And that's great, awesome. And really what it comes down to is it comes down to the people that run Shape. So we're going to talk about that, the CEOs that endorse Shape and use it for their business, and customers that also use it. So first, I want to talk about me. That sounds weird to say, by the way, just to call myself out. But why the heck, Jimi, would you be hosting a Shape Software podcast? Well, first and foremost, if you know my story, you know that I've been in the mortgage industry for 15 years. I started in October of 2007, and I was a lead caller. I started out calling Lending Tree leads. You know, when banks compete, you win. I shared a office with 3 people. One of the persons that I shared an office with was the senior vice president of this company. And I kind of chuckle about it because there were 5 people at the company. And I mean, there's a vice president and a senior vice president. I mean, it's like, come on. And by the way, you share an office with the new guy who has 0 experience, and another guy I was sharing an office with. And I would literally take my corded phone and I would hand dial every single lead and manually leave a message. I would then type a note. First off, I would crush it at calling leads. I didn't much crush it at everything else. A lot of loan officers I think will relate that, I would just put my head down and sell, 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 sell. And then I would get this huge pipeline and I was like, well, crap, what am I going to do with this pipeline? I got to close it now. And you have to stress out about it. There's, promises that you made that you have to keep, and you have to, make sure that things happen, and, all the mistakes that come up on with that. So during my 15 years, I've worked for several companies. I've worked on several CRM products, and I thought it'd be fun to share this because I don't think I could ever. I don't know that anybody else even knows this. That my very first CRM system that I used, my company used one that basically it was terrible, and I would only use it up until contacting a lead. So I would just basically keep track of how many calls that I'm on, and effectively at a certain point you give up. So okay, call 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I forget how many I called at the time, probably 10. And then you would give up, and you would type notes, what type of message that you left, and that type of stuff. As soon as you contacted it, well, then I would put it on a different list. And here's what my list was: doc, and I would have to save it, and I would have it on one computer. And if I moved different computers, I had a desktop computer. I didn't even have a laptop. And like that was the computer that I could only work on. And I typed the name of the person, the date that I contacted them, and then all the notes with them. And about 6 months into that, my doc, boy, I forget how many pages it was, but I mean, it must have been like 50 pages. And I would track every single, time that I called them. And it was good to keep track of it. But man, talk about beating your head against the wall. I don't know how much time I wasted just searching for clients. And like you do a control F, and you look them up by their last name, and you'd find it. But it's just like, my goodness, there was no decisioning, no automated marketing, nothing was automated. It was literally all in a doc. And I somehow was still a successful loan officer. And I think that there's a lot of people still to this day that I asked somebody the other day, how do you keep track of all your leads? He says, well, by memory. I was like, wow, can you imagine if you actually had a real solution to that? So I have had over 10,000 talk tos in my 15-year career. I have trained several loan officers how to call leads. And I've actually been interviewed by Scott Payne of the Lead Management Mastermind podcast about calling leads, how you do it. And just, I guess, a really brief thing is it's the first thing you got to do in the morning. Nothing else should be first. The first thing should be sell, 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 and get through your entire list. Do a great, good, healthy call session, and call through your list until you're done every day. Don't check voicemails first. Don't check emails first. You come in and you get it done. Once you're doing it, though, you got to bring the energy. You got to be on 1,000. You got to motivate people to take the next step. And a lot of times they're on a train that they know is the right train. I'm on the right train, the train towards home ownership. Except what they don't know is they're actually on the train to renting. And you have to take them off the train that they're on and put them on your train, which leads them to home ownership. That's my start. I ended up in 2020 getting to a point in my career where I had a 5-person team, and I started a mortgage podcast. It's called the Get It Done podcast. And I've interviewed, if you're in the mortgage industry, you'll know a lot of the people that I've interviewed, like Dave Savage, Barry Habib, Carl White, Steve Kiles, Mike Kardashian, Frank Garay, the whole MMA crowd. I'm one of only 2 people to have ever interviewed Steve Jacobson, the CEO of Fairway. Gosh, Sarah Middleton, Andy Andrews. There's just so many people. I mean, I've over 100 episodes at this point. Brad Lee is a notable guest as well. And these people are epic in the mortgage space. And where I started out making a podcast for real estate agents, to interview real estate agents to eventually get business from them, it just kind of just naturally became a mortgage show. I ended up interviewing mortgage people, and those are the kind of the people that I like. And real estate agents too. I did Realtor Month. I did 1 podcast a day for every single day in the month of June of in 2021. That was nuts. I don't know anybody that's ever done that before. Full podcast too, like over an hour long, full life story type shows. And I mentioned at the beginning of this show that The first one that I ever did was terrible. I had to have a couple cocktails to get it out. Like it was really tough to get my first episode out. And now it's one of those things that I just look forward to. It's I feel most alive and most me when I'm behind the camera and the red light is on. It just allows me to things just click. I don't know what it is, but God gave me a couple extra scoops of talent in this. And believe me, he took it out of other areas. But in this particular area, he gave me some gifts. And why me is that's why this is what I love. And I was interviewing with the CEO of Shape, Anthony. Anthony said, Jimmy, I can see you're passionate about this, and this is something that we need. So why I joined Shape. Well, first and foremost, just to make it, well, I guess this sounds so cliche, but I'm just going to say it. Shape is the best. And yeah, am I biased? Well, yeah, I work for Shape. Okay. I absolutely biased. It sounds cliche. Oh, it's the best. Okay, great. Awesome. But this is why it is the best. Everything that I've ever looked into with Shape, I've found to be not only legit, but more than what I saw on the surface. Just for instance, when you go to the Shape website, the homepage says grow sales 41% in an all-in-one automated sales and marketing solution. Like, Anthony, I know you're listening to this. Like, bro, that sounds just so freaking like salesy. I mean, it just does. But what if it's the truth? What if it's the truth? And that's just the thing. It's the truth. Imagine if your CRM did everything that you wanted it to do. Imagine if you didn't have to program it. Imagine if there's a proven way to do things the most right way, and out of the box, it's set up like that. Imagine that. And because I have had a lot of history growing and developing and building CRMs from the ground up, and I say CRM, I use that term loosely. A lot of times people call it a CRM, but it's a lead management system is the technical term, and there is a huge difference. And a CRM system is a Rolodex. A lead management system does things for you in the way that it needs to be done. So I'm going to give you an example. If the best time to call a lead is between 8 and 9 a.m. in the morning, and the second best time is between 4:30 and 5, and you're not doing that, a lot of times a salesperson's going to say, the leads are weak. And I'm reminded of Glenn Ross. The leads are weak? The leads are weak? You're weak. And the truth is, you salesperson, you are weak. If you can't get into work before 8 and have your coffee ready and your computer on and you're calling your leads the way that it's supposed to be done, you don't deserve the lead. I'm sorry. Someone that's doing that does. And even if you do deserve the lead from a company standpoint, there's another company calling that same lead. And guess what? They're there at 8 o'clock calling. My point with that is simple. If you knew what to do and it was as easy as turning on your computer and the list is in front of you and all you have to do is call the lead, you don't even have to leave a voicemail. It just leaves it for you, a recorded one that you created. Ugh. I used to hand dial. This is click dial. You'll probably have a fancy headset too. You can walk around and pace. I had a freaking foam piece of something on the phone so I could hold it up with my shoulder and take applications. Why Shape? Well, it is the best lead management solution on the market today. Every single thing that I look, the priority views, all of it can be automated in a way where it's drag and drop your entire system, lead management, call strategy, everything can be out of the box done. Oh, by the way, it's $99 a month. When I first heard that, I'm like, are you kidding me? This is at least $200 a month. Like, that's a sale deal, because any other CRM lead management solution, when you add up how much it costs and then you add how much all of the add-ons are, like, for instance, this also includes a phone. How much do you spend on a phone? Some people are spending $50 a month on a phone, and some people are paying me even more. And this includes it. Okay. Why I joined Shape is on a personal level. I went through a divorce, and during this divorce, it forced a lot of change for me. And it was a really great opportunity for me personally, to start over. And I have a passion and a love for media creation and for podcasting in specific. And I was in a position where I could do this. And I called up my buddy, Scott Payne. Scott is a leader in the lead management space. And my history with Scott was I worked at a company at the time that I was starting my podcast, and I actually spent $70,000 with the guy. So he better like me. My goodness, spending all the money with the guy. But Scott actually helped me sell it. It's kind of crazy. And I was able to, because there's a lot of value in how much time and effort, how much time, money, and effort gets put into putting one of those together. But my history with Scott is, like I said, he's interviewed me on his show, and he knows that I'm passionate about this type of stuff. And I was talking to him, and I was like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" He said, "Dude, I'm not even doing STP solutions anymore. I've joined Shape." And he showed me a demo of the product. I'm like, "No way. Right out of the box, it does all this?" And he's like, "Jimmy, I'm just scratching the surface." And every single time and we've dove deeper into it, it does more and more and more and more. And then I find out it's all proprietary software. And then I find out it's on their own servers. And then I find out they're advocates for the industry for sending text messages as a mortgage company. Every time I look a little bit further in, it gets better and better and better. And Scott told me about the opportunity. I interviewed with Anthony, and we were, man, I feel like family right away. And I feel like Shape is a 1,000 piece puzzle, beautiful 1,000 piece puzzle that had 999 pieces already connected and fit together. And there was just this one piece missing. And I feel like I was that piece. I feel like I have fit in entirely. I feel like a family. And, Shape had no media creator. And boy, I tell you what, that's a shame, but it's also a blessing for me because I get the chance to come in and do it. So, what are we going to do here on this show? Well, one of the things that I'm going to do first is I'm going to be interviewing people that work for Shape. And there are a lot of really great people here. I would say everybody that I've talked to is a winner. There's people that do certain things really well, and there's people that do things not particularly well. For me, I am a great speaker. I can get up on a stage in front of 1,000 people and love every second of that. Some people would absolutely be terrified of that. But in the same way that I can get on a stage in front of 1,000 people and love it, I'm not the most organized. I'm not the most at putting things together. There's a lot of like for instance, typing captions on a post. That's something that my buddy Corey's going to do. He's a freaking awesome dude. Can sit still, and type something that's thoughtful. And he's not doing 10,000 things at once. I feel like I absolutely fit the mold for what the company needed, and I'm just so proud to be here. But we're going to interview the team, and we're going to figure out what else what is the team at Shapes special sauce. What do they bring to the table? I mentioned before that we're innovators in the industry, and you have to be innovating. In the age of AI, everything's changing at such a rapid pace that if you stop innovating, well, you're going to lose. You can't just stay at status quo. You got to grow. And who's in charge of growing? It's the people in the back end. It's the people that run the software. So we're going to talk to people in the sales department, what solutions that they come across, or what problems, I should say, that other CRM systems have that Shape is a solution for. We're going to be interviewing our partners that work with Shape and the dev team. What really puts it all together, and we're going to get into some super nerdy stuff with that. CEOs of companies that have implemented a Shape solution, and customers of Shape. So people that might be a one-off broker shop or a leader of $100 million team. We want to especially highlight what was the problem that the other CRM system didn't solve, and what were the main reasons why you came over to Shape. What were things that it did that you didn't even know that you were just pleasantly surprised about, and how are you leveraging it today, and what are you excited about implementing in the future? Ready, set, Shape. One of the ways to be a leader in a space is to provide value to the people that are in the space, and particularly in the lead calling space, to my brothers and sisters in the mortgage industry, particularly, but people also in insurance, financial planning, real estate agents, and other industries like fix and flip, wholesaling, medical insurance, just insurance in general, homeowners insurance in general, recruiting. Everybody needs a little extra pep in their step before they call a lead. For me, I used to just get psyched up, and I would just listen to loud music, listen to really, really insanely cocky type music. And I believed in my heart of hearts that whenever I would connect with somebody on the phone, that I was put on this earth to connect with those people on the phone right at that moment, right at that particular time. And I would tell people right on the phone, I would say, listen, I don't know what it is, but God has connected us right now. And I believe, I don't take this lightly, I believe with my heart of hearts that there's a reason for that. And when it was with closing on a home loan, I would ask them, how long have you rented for? And then they would tell me. And then I would tell them, like, look, I can help you to do this. Let's get it done. And the Ready, Set, Shape podcast is going to be all about, it's going to be a short form. I'm going to take some pieces from the long form Shape podcast, but it's going to be a motivational, lead calling specific podcast where we motivate people to call leads, to show up as their best self, and to believe with their heart of hearts that every single person that they connect with, they were put there for a reason. They were put there on purpose. And why now? Why not now? It's never too late to start. Your first step is oftentimes the most scary one. It's necessary, though. Sometimes you might look like a fool taking that first step, but then all of a sudden you take the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. All of a sudden you have 100 steps. Every step along the way is unique. Every step is difficult. But by the time you get to 100, you look back and you say, wow, look how far we've come. And that's why I'm just so excited to take a first step to launch episode 1 of the Shape podcast. And to you for listening, thank you so much. I appreciate you listening and hearing a little bit of what I have to say. I promise that we're going to dive into some real, authentic, deep topics with our guests. And it's not just going to be about shape and not and lead calling. We're going to get into some real juicy topics that I think are relevant to any industry and any person in general. But there will certainly be a CRM, lead management, and shape flavor to it. Thank you so much for listening. This is episode 1 of the Shape podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Jimi Ryan. Thanks so much for listening.